If a black business ain't supporting community, you shouldn't support that business. Diddy's a perfect example.
You know, when you say it out loud, it's still a bit nuts. Like,
The display was the pros and cons of slavery.
do you think we will ever have equality? Welcome to Mek Sense with Melzy, where we make sense of the world we live in through real culture conversation. We have a very, very special guest today. And of course, it's October. We're celebrating Black History Month, but just to let you know, we should be celebrating Black History Month all day, every day, okay? But we really want to have good, meaningful conversations to help push the Black community forward. So this person I've got sitting next to me is the first to launch Black Studies program in Europe in 2017. He's an author of several books, Back to Black, The Psychosis of Whiteness, just to name a few. He's an advocate for challenging racial injustice, promoting Black unity, co-founder of Harambee OBU, and of course, the Make It Plain podcast. Kehinde Andrews, how are you today?
I'm good, thanks. Good to be here.
Whoa, Kehinde! I literally had to stalk him to come. I'm probably still in your DMs like, what, 10 times?
It was a bit, to be honest. But it's good because I don't reply all the time, so
right.
it was helpful.
Was it a bit aggressive or?
No, I would never call a black woman aggressive, so.
Love that, love that. Assertive.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. So how we genuinely start the show, we start the show by saying what don't make sense and what does make sense. So for you right now, what does make sense?
What does make sense? Not much. I mean, what does make sense? I think there was a coconut trial with Maria Hussein and she got off, which is good, I guess. The fact she was on trial is kind of crazy in the first place.
Yeah.
For having the placard of Rishi Sunak and what's her name, Suella Braverman as coconuts, but at least she got off. So she's not.
She bust case.
Yeah, that's good.
We love that.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah. And what don't make sense to you?
Related, I'm actually. Next week, I have to go to the police station myself for an interview for calling Calvin Robinson a house Negro. I mean, he is a house Negro, so I don't know why you get called up for calling a house Negro, but there you go.
That's crazy. How does that make you feel like that you can't have a level of freedom of speech and you literally have to give a statement? Like, that's wild to me.
It is wild, but I'm kind of looking forward to it. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I made this whole video explaining terms like coconut, coon, house Negro. And at the end of the video, I say, look, if this is the crime, take me to jail. And yeah, so then the police came knocking, so I can't really complain.
What was your first initial thought when the police were at your door? Because obviously you're not involved in any criminal activities.
I thought it was Amazon, to be honest. I was half dressed.
I was waiting for a delivery. I don't know about y'all, but I was waiting for a delivery to go.
So I was a little bit surprised.
Yeah.
But no, that's about it. As soon as he said, I knew what it was. And we have to push back because I think we've let it go. There's been a lot of cases where people have been caught up for this kind of language. And as a community, even my case, I've had people ask me, are you serious? Do you really mean this? And I'm like, yeah, like, of course I do. Like, we could disagree on the language, but the idea that it should be policed, you should be in court, I mean, come on. We have to put
Yeah, and I feel like it's okay to have disagreements in conversations. I feel like it's just important to keep the conversations open. Yeah. Not everyone's going to agree, but we should still really have an opinion to be able to express how we feel. So it's unfortunate that you're having to go through that. Have you been cancelled yet?
Not yet. We'll see. Maybe if I get charged.
Maybe if you get charged, you might be cancelled. Like, what is with that? How can someone... As long as my parents don't cancel me, I'm not cancelled. As long as my friends and family still love me, I'm not cancelled. It's just... You obviously don't want people to be offended, but everyone's going to be offended by something at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
If I think back to like university days when we're doing debates, it's debates on different viewpoints. No one's really offended. We're just debating and bringing our little piece to the pie.
Yeah.
But you've got a safe space to do that. But it's weird how now on social media, it's like everything's being policed, everything. You can't say this, you can't say that. It just restricts people.
But that's what they want, though. And this is important, like terms like house Negro, that's black radical thought. And actually go back to 1967, the first people that were arrested for these hate crimes were black power activists. So this isn't a new thing. They really have been trying to take away the language because that language then leads to political movement, etc., etc. So it is quite sinister and we do need to push back.
Let's go right into it. So obviously, I know that the undergrad program has stopped, BCU.
My work might cancel me.
Don't get cancelled by work now. How has the impact of the program grown since you've been in post?
Well, this is the thing, and why it really is a shame that they cancelled it, is it has had a major impact. So, you know, we talk to universities all around the world. The students who've come on the course, pretty much, I don't think any of them would have come to do university without Black Studies. So they've come and said, look, this is different, and this is what we're doing in the course. And also, one of the things we really push on the course is that it's not, so Black Studies isn't just about studying Black people. That's part of it, but it's more about saying, well, actually, how do we fix things? How do we engage in the community? And that's completely different to what most university is. So it's not just the course we're losing a lot of other stuff around that as well.
And why do you think that's important to kind of like have a Black Studies course that can kind of provoke that thought process and get people to open up and look at things from a different perspective?
Because universities are white. Right, it's white all the way through. Like when people say, "Well, as a professor of white studies," that's every other professor. Like that is all of these disciplines. You're not learning. I did psychology, didn't learn a single. I mean, this commercial. Actually, I'm not wrong. Nope, didn't learn anything about anything written by Black people in my psychology course. Sociology is usually going to be the same. History, theology, all these big courses. It's just white. Which is why Black Studies comes in and says, actually, no, we have to look at the world differently. And if you don't look at the world differently, then you're just going to repeat
cycles.
We repeat the cycle, right? And so actually what we did with Black Studies, the reason they got rid of it is because there wasn't massive student numbers, but it had a much bigger impact than just the students. It really did. Like with the events we run, the things we do, other students who come into the course. I had lots of students who don't do Black Studies who said, actually, that's a big shame because I learned a lot just from this. So it really is a shame.
Yeah, because it's kind of like if you don't have those kind of courses, where do you actually learn about Black powerful people? Because at schools they're just going to teach us the slavery stuff.
Yep.
I don't even remember covering that at my school.
Yeah, even if you get taught anything, even if
you get taught it, I don't even. And I always like remembered like in my history lessons, like, you know, seeing Henry VIII and seeing the Tudors and seeing this, and even as a young child, it felt weird to me. Like, so are we going to learn about someone that looks like me, or is this just the history? So even back then as a child, it didn't make sense, the education system. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you think your work in Black Studies has shaped and broadened the conversation around race in the UK?
No, I think it's been massively influential. And that's the other thing about it with the undergrad. Because we had an undergrad, we were able to hire Black members of staff.
Okay.
So like in the UK, there's 150, maybe 160 professors who are Black, full stop. So
whoa, say that again. Whoa.
More than 20,000 professors in the country, there are 160 who are Black. And the thing is about 60 women. All right?
Wow.
So it's bad. I mean, like there's like one of us in each university.
That's crazy.
It's really bad, right? Like it's madness. There's so few of us. I always joke, there's so few of us we can't all get on a plane together. Because if it crashes, there's none left. And it wouldn't even be a big plane over. It's one of those little planes with the...
Yeah, a little easy.
It's an easy jet plane. So it's, and then if you look at staff as well, so professors like the top, and then below that, it's only 1% of academic staff are Black. So one of the things that we have at BCU is there's like 4 or 5 of us in Black Studies. There's 6 of us in the department. Like you don't get 6 Black members of staff in the same department anywhere else in Europe.
Wow.
And that's all based on the undergraduate degree. So when you get rid of the undergraduate degree, they're going to start getting rid of us. And so it really is important, because then you lose all the work that we're doing, all the stuff that we're doing. And it has had an impact. When I started in university, there was debate about what Black was. They were saying political Blackness, Asians are Black, everybody's Black. That's gone now because of the work that we've done.
Right.
We now understand. When we say Black, we be Black. Right?
Yeah, because they even the term BAME is like, I don't like the term. I really don't like the term, because again, it's grouping people together. Like my experience as a Black woman is going to be different to an Asian woman's experience or a Chinese woman's experience. So it's weird how we group all of that kind of stuff together. Do you think we've not got more professors due to the systematic white supremacy in institutions? Or do you feel like people are not going for those jobs?
No, it's systematic. I mean, it's both, but the system. So if you look at the education system, every level, Black people tend to do worse. GCSE, A-level, degree level. Actually, we get into degrees more, but it tends to be degrees in this, like actually BCU is not a good university and not in the good courses, right? But then if you look at even at BCU, there's a massive disparity between the amount. So BCU is about like 60% BAME, lots of Black students. Undergrad, masters, mostly white students.
Crazy.
Right? PhD, overwhelmingly white students. And you find that across the board. So what you have is you just, because of the racism in the system, there's just not that many of us to apply for jobs.
Yeah, of course.
And then when we do apply for jobs, I can apply for a job now and not get. I can apply for associate professor, which is a step down, and will not get shortlisted now. Even me being me, all the
Is that
everything.
because you're Kehinde Andrews though?
Partly that's reputation.
You are Kehinde Andrews.
but honestly, even before,
They probably look at you as he's the problem.
now.
Do you know what I mean?
He
thinks too much. He's got too much intellect.
I was told by one of my mentors I won't get a job anywhere else, which is fine.
It's fine. It's okay.
But even when I was younger academic, I'd always apply for a job below, and I'd still not get shortlisted. I'm like, well, I'm already in a job above, so how am I not getting shortlisted for the job? So it is great. So it's racism in the schools, racism in the universities, racism when you're trying to get work as well, and also our work isn't valued, right? So even now, one of the reasons I wouldn't get hired. What's Black Studies? What's this? You're doing Black? Like they don't really give it the credit. Even in the uni, they don't really give it the credit that it deserves.
That's so unfortunate because it's like, again, there's just a level of importance of education, especially when it comes to the Black community. If you look back onto slavery days and historical context, they didn't want us to read.
Yeah.
They didn't want us to be able to read and write. Do you know what I mean? That's why probably a lot of our grandparents did those kind of hands-on jobs, because a lot of us, they couldn't read. They didn't want us to read. So I do feel like there's an element of importance to make sure that Black people are educated, but educated from the right perspective. Because it's all good having education, but it's getting it from the right perspective, which I think it is.
And all of the basis of the knowledge in the Black Studies course, it's community. It is Malcolm X's, it's your Claudia Jones's, it's your Bernard Cordy wrote a great book on Saturday School. All that community knowledge, which has been rejected, we brought it into the university, and there really is no other space where it is.
Yeah.
So when the course goes, then that's gone, and that really is a shame, because just getting Black students into these spaces, that don't do nothing, because the spaces are white, the knowledge is white, they're coming out like get out. That's what it does.
Gotta get out, y'all. Gotta get out. Someone get out. You've campaigned a lot around decolonizing education. What does that actually look like, and what is the importance of that?
So I'm not the one really with the decolonizing the schools.
Okay.
Because the schools are the schools.
Yeah.
Like the schools are like prisons. That's what I talked about. Like,
change.
They are what they are. For me, it's more about how do we make sure that our kids have education, and that education they're not going to get in schools. So I'm not saying it's not important to try and shift what happens in the schools, because it is important. But like, even when the schools try, they can't. Like they can't do it.
It's like a half-ass. It's a half-ass attempt.
Yeah, like there's some teachers, don't be wrong, there's some teachers who do great work.
Of course.
Always is, some teachers do great work. But then, like, there was a few years ago, I went to a London event, and there was a guy who had gone around and how do they teach slavery in the schools? And he said it was terrible. And some of the stories, he said one school had a display, and it was, the display was the pros and cons of slavery. Right?
Whoa. Pause. Pause, Kehinde. How is there a pro for slavery? Why is that even in the topic of conversation? Wow.
Well, one of the pros was it gave the slaves discipline. I'm not joking. This was in the schools, on the wall. So there's a quote from Malcolm X, which I love Malcolm.
I know you love Malcolm. I've listened to some of your podcasts. You mention him every
It's all
episode.
Malcolm all the time.
Yeah,
really.
yeah, pick up Malcolm. We love Malcolm.
But why would you let the enemy educate your children? And the schools are the enemy. Like that doesn't mean there's not good stuff in the schools.
Yeah.
But I say university same way. You can do good stuff in the universities and the schools, but overall that's the enemy. So we have to understand that our kids, if they can get some proper knowledge in the schools, this is a good thing, but we shouldn't rely on it. And it's how do we build community education? And back in the day, we had much more community education, Saturday schools.
Sunday school.
Even Sunday school.
I used to go to Sunday school, and this taught me some discipline. Not gonna lie. Sit down and be quiet.
But we've given up. We've kind of not given up, but
it's changed.
We've kind of tried to fix the thing which isn't broken. I always tell people schools aren't broken. Like the reason they give you white, terrible knowledge, the reason you get strip searched in schools, the reason they're literally built by the same people that build prisons, that's not an accident. That's the point. So when you're expecting someone to do something they can't do, that's our fault. And we have to learn, we actually educate our own kids.
Yeah, that's crazy. I actually used to work in prisons. I taught like radio broadcasting. It was during lockdown. It was only a short little stint. Me and my energy could not survive in that kind of space because I would have caught a case that wasn't even mine. And I think sometimes working in those kind of environments, it's like you want to go in and you want to change. Because I've worked in schools as well. Do you know what I mean? You want to go in, you want to change, you want to help, you know, people that look like you and people outside of that. Do you know what I mean? But it's difficult to work from inside those institutions because not everybody has the same mindset. Like I went into that jail thinking, right, I'm going to help someone rehabilitate. I'm going to get them to get some qualifications. I'm going to get them to feel confident. I had all of this amazing stuff. I'm going to get my little positive sprinkle dust and try and just, you know, and it's not going to work because then you've got other individuals that are there just to feed their ego because they weren't popular at school. Then you've got other girls that are in there just to smash a prisoner, as we've seen. Do you know what I mean? Like people go into there for different reasons. How do we, if we can't kind of do much in the institutions, what would you recommend we do outside of that?
It's about building community capacity. So, for example, education is about things like Saturday schools, community education, online stuff. There's many ways you can do it. So, for organisation and make it plain, we're going to start doing educational things that you can just share with people, young people. I think with prisons, the obvious one is like, we need to not get into the prison. I mean, look, once you're there, obviously,
it's harder.
I mean, once you're there, you have to, and I would never say don't work in the system. I work in the system. And I would never say it's not worth it because even if you reach 1, 2, 3 people in the prison, that's a useful thing to do.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to do that.
Yeah.
But that's not the solution, right? The solution is how do we stop our people getting into prison in the first place?
Right?
Which is about how do we provide opportunities, how do we provide education, how as a community we're providing support. Because the reality is what's changed, the big change since, let's say, the 80s, we had all these mobile, before, like me being a professor of Black Studies, it's pretty unlikely now. I gave you the statistics. In fact, people put me up as a role model and say you're more likely to die in the next 20 minutes than you are to become a professor. That's just the reality. I can just tell you right there.
That's deep, bro. Right? Whoa, can we do that?
I really put it.
We need some room for this episode. Whoa.
but I'm not saying don't, right? Like, by all means, right? But you know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, that wasn't an option. So I wasn't be thinking I can go do PhD. I can go. This wasn't an option, right? So that meant we had to have our own Saturday schools. We had to have our own housing associations. Dad and Mum started around being in the 70s. They said, look, we'll build our own nursery, we'll build our own housing association, we'll build our own bookshop. But because of the movements and because of the changes, in the last 40 years, we said, how do we get in the system? How do we get these good jobs? And we stopped building community. And then we wonder why our community is struggling. That's why, right? So we have to go back to building community. And then everybody would be doing much better once you have community that's powerful.
And I think that's quite interesting as well, because I feel like society gets us to build on our own. Like there's a lot of individual, be yourself, build the life that you want to build. And I get everybody has their own life to build and has their own career or passion or purposes or all of that kind of stuff. But I feel like as a Black woman, I feel like always responsible for doing something for my community in some way. Because I understand we need to come together as a community, but for people that are a little bit individualized, how can they offer their support to the community without getting too much involved? Because a lot of people don't really want to, they want to dip their toe in.
Yeah.
Because they still want to keep their 50 bag, 60 bag job.
Yeah.
And I get it, times are hard.
Times are hard.
You know what I mean? Cheese is expensive. Planting's £5. I spent £10 on mutton the other day. Yeah, man, and I only fed 2-3 people. So, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Well, so with Around BLB, what we've, again, based on Malcolm X has this organization, Afro-American Unity, and it's a membership organization, right? You just join. So we've said, look, join the organization. If all you want to do is put your money in, that's it. Give us the money. We'll go and sort it.
Do what we need to
If
do.
you want to come and get involved in education, health, etc., please do. We like you want people to work. But look, if all you want to do is put your money in, that's fine. Like you've got the money, you've got the resources, you can support in that way. Just giving people the opportunity to do that, I think.
And also like providing the space as well.
Yeah.
To do that. I think, like you said, I do feel like back in the day there was more that community network, whether that's just a little rave on the road or the food shop, Aunt Sally's, or, you know, there was just more community for us growing up. Whereas I feel like we've just lost that now.
Yeah. But it was more because we didn't have a choice. right? We had to live in particular areas, right? So it was residentially very, very, very segregated. So we lived together. We didn't have the options to go in and do other things. And now what's happened is, it's opened up, interestingly enough, this term house Negro, which is not a slur at all. I mean, house Negro is like theory, right? That says like, if those on the house on the planet who worked in the house was slightly better off.
Yeah.
It was slightly better off.
He had a privilege to a certain
it was a privilege.
extent. Yeah.
It wasn't a great privilege.
It wasn't a great privilege, but it was better.
Yeah, it was better. It's better than being in the field. But the whole point of house Negro was to remind you you're still a slave. Right? Remind you that even though you have this privilege, you may think it's better, you may think you've made it, but you're still a slave. Right? And that's what we say now. Even me, big professor, good job, etc. You think I don't experience racism? It's a reminder. That's what house Negro is a reminder. But unfortunately, what's happened over the last 40 years is the changes, and we have to say this, we did all these mobilizations, but all that really happened is it opened it up enough for us to get into the house. That's what's done. And so we're chasing house, and we've forgotten about the community. And that's really been that's been the biggest change over the last 4 years. And that's why we're in a worse state. I would say we're in a worse state now than 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Because even though we were probably in a economically worse place then, we had community, we had organization, we could mobilize.
Because it's survival, isn't it, to a certain extent?
Yeah, it makes sense. Look, I'm not even criticizing. What did I do? I'm a professor. That's all. I did it really well, right? So, but this is what I say with education. It's not an accident that we have all the rebellions in the 80s, and then at that point, there's very few black students in universities. Very, very, very few. They widened participation in 92. What are they doing? They're saying, well, actually, let's take the young people out the streets, take the young people off rebellion, let's give them degrees. And then they're going to think they can get jobs. And they're going to be part of the system. And they're going to start rebelling. And it worked. It worked really well. Right? So we've actually played into our downfall in that way. And again, I'm not blaming anybody. And I've been one of the worst at this. Right? And even take my dad and mom, perfect example. Start a Rambi organization, very, very much community. My dad gets the opportunity to go to university at Warwick and get a law degree, and he goes and becomes a lawyer for ages. And he does community law, it's defending people in the community, etc. But then that gives him a level of privilege. So then we come up and I said he wants to send me to private school. I'm like, my black radical dad wants to send me to private school. What?
Pops, me? You want to send me?
I had to fail the exams on purpose. I was like, nah, I
way.
didn't even know that much. I was like, I don't want to do this. So I failed all the exams on purpose. So I didn't go to anybody from Birmingham
That's
in this knows Dartmouth was run down school. But it was a good
it was a good school. I did see something online about private school. I can't remember which celeb was talking about it, but they were basically saying I would never send my child to private school because they need to go to state school to learn to deal with bullying, to learn to be around different people, to learn how to more sociably than educationally, really.
Yeah. To send them to the I'll be honest, I hated school. Didn't like it very much. I had lots of problems. But I wouldn't be who I am in that school.
Was you naughty at school?
No, I actually
wasn't naughty, was you?
I was naughty in a different way, but when I was older at sixth form, we got away with a lot because our school was so bad. There was no, when we were good students, so they knew we were going to get good grades, so we could literally do mostly anything. We ran in, one time we ran in the staff room drunk. Just drunk in the middle of the day, and no one ever said anything, like it never happened. It's actually really strange. We can do whatever we like. But when I was 12 to 14, I went for a coconut. See, I could use this by myself. I was bounty bar all the way. Because the school was telling me anyway, to be black was to be bad. Okay. Right? It was to not do well. So if you're going to be good, you have to be white. And it was really on that level. So I was just like, okay, white friends, white this, white everything. Horrible done. But again, had I not gone through that, I wouldn't be
who you are today.
Yeah. Had I gone to the private school, I'd probably just still be a coconut.
And it's crazy because I think we've all probably experienced different racism in different ways and different situations. I remember I was working for a community organisation. I won't name and blame you, even though I could if I really, really wanted to. And this is around the time Black Panther came out.
Yeah.
And there was a dual heritage girl that was in we worked together. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go watch Black Panther. Yeah. And she was like, oh, you're going to watch it because it's sci-fi. You're going to go watch it because it's Black Panther. So I'm going to go watch it because of Black Panther, obviously. Yeah. Why else would I go there and watch it? What are you talking about? Yeah. My whole community's talking about it. I need to know what's going on. Yeah. Oh, don't you think that's a bit racist? Don't you think that's a bit racist? Yeah. So I must have called this girl ignorant. I said, you're ignorant? You're actually just ignorant. So she did the Karen thing and cried. Couldn't believe it. You're like, this wasn't that long ago, guys. You're talking like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
She did the whole little Karen. Oh, she called me ignorant. Obviously, me being me, got called up into the office by my Asian manager. Oh, you know, that's not something that you should say. So, but she's being ignorant. She's got lack of knowledge.
Yeah,
what are we talking about?
What else could he say?
And then she came back to me. She's like, you know, I really wanted you to teach you about history. You got a black mother. It's not my responsibility to teach you on history.
Yeah.
You pay me. What do you think this is? So I never spoke to this girl again. And I was like, yeah, you're a Karen. You're going to remain Karen. Stay over there. Don't chat to me. I need to get out of this organisation. Little tiny things like that. And I never forget, after the George Floyd situation, she slid in my DMs with the longest message saying, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for what I did at that job. I was so shocked to actually get that kind of message from her. But I'm also glad that you've taken accountability for it.
Yeah.
Obviously, talking a little bit about like white psychosis, you've written, you know, loads of different books about, you know, how to navigate around, you know, race, equality. Can you kind of explain the concept of white psychosis and how does that impact our understanding of race?
Yeah, so it came up because I was watching there's still only 2 British films, big budget, about slavery. One of them was 2007 about William Wilberforce.
Okay.
The good white man who apparently ended slavery. And it's this whole Wilberforce nonsense film where, honestly, I was watching it going, wow, this is a bit crazy. Yeah. And then the second one is Belle, which is even worse, actually. Belle's written and directed by a black woman. And it's about Belle Elizabeth Dido, who was probably the only enslaved black woman whose father was like a aristocracy, and he took her out of slavery, and she grew up in this big mansion house. And it's a true story, but they've told completely just made up all the details. So these are the 2 films about slavery, and there's no slavery in them. There's like almost no slavery at all. The director Emma Santi said she wanted to make a period drama, like a Jane Austen movie for black girls, because they could feel they were part of the time.
Okay.
I was like, well, we were part of the time. We just weren't there, right? And I'm watching it going, these are actually delusions. Like, there's nothing. Psychosis has 2 elements. One of them is completely deluded thinking, which you think about race and think about whiteness. That's it. Very clearly, it's all delusional. But then it's supported by hallucinations. And so I was like, these movies, these are the hallucinations. They're feeding into the psychosis, and it's like and most people don't know nothing about slavery, so they think, yeah, this makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And so the whole point is to say, the whole point of the idea is to say, look, because it's a psychosis, you actually can't argue with it. So we spend so much of our time anti-racism trying to teach people, or trying to argue against it, or trying to, rationalize. But we've been on the right side of the argument for 500 years. It don't get you anywhere because it's not a rational debate. And then when I went on TV a lot with Piers Morgan and people like that, I'm like, wow, this really ain't, like, it doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what evidence you can put in forward. It doesn't matter. And so what we have to do is stop trying to convince white people, because that's not how we get free.
So then if we don't convince white people to be anti-racist, are you saying it's best to separate?
Revolution is best. Like, my work's all about, actually, we need, this system isn't, like I said, it's not broken. It does what it's supposed to do. And the purpose of the psychosis is to delude people into believing it's fine, right? That's the whole point of psychosis, is the whiteness, is to think it's okay, we're doing well, we can give aid to the poor Africans, and this is, we're doing our job. And so the only solution, and I'll say this all the time, is we need a different political and economic system, which takes revolution. So we need to stop trying to convince white people and start building our own thing. That's actually what psychosis is actually about. And I'm trying to show you in such clear detail that this is delusional, and you can't penetrate. You can't change it. No, you can't change it. The only thing you can do is end it.
As a black person, you experience different scenarios, whether it's at school, college, in the working environment, out into the road. These have a mental health impact on how you view yourself, how you view the world, how you view white people. Then you might get to a stage where you have to be a little bit forgiving, because I've got to work with Sally at work anyway. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, you got.
I can't hate another, set of individuals despite them potentially hating me just by the colour of my skin. You don't want to be carrying that much as an individual, because that can weigh you down subconsciously anyway. So you go through these stages of, okay, let me integrate. Let me try and make this work. Let me... And then, like you said, you could be a millionaire and still be taken down because you're a black man.
Yeah. So
or you're a black woman.
Yeah.
So then it doesn't matter what your economic or class status is.
You're still black. Like, you're still black. You have what Elijah Anderson, professor in America, calls the nigger moment.
Yeah.
It will happen. I mean,
Which is crazy to me.
No, because that's what it is, right? Like, I think the thing we need to, and partly the reason I did it with the psychosis argument is to save us a lot of trauma, actually, right? Because we think we're going to get treated fairly, this actually causes us lots of anxiety and stress. I've had this at work. I had a white woman run out of the room crying when I was just sitting there doing nothing, and had a witness next to me, and the UD tried to give me discipline for it. I'm like, and I was really upset by this, went off sick, stressed, but a lot of it was because I felt they treated me unfairly, and they did treat me unfairly. But I should understand that's what I'm gonna get, right? Don't bad Professor nothing. You're still gonna get treated like that.
That's mad though. You know, when you say it out loud, it's still a bit nuts. Like,
Boy, what else can you do? Because otherwise, it'll mad you. England will mad you. That's what Lyndon Kwesi Johnson says. England will mad you. So when you have to kind of laugh at these things. So remember they did the last government, it was 2019. They did anti-knife crime campaign, and they thought, let's put all these anti-knife crime campaigns in
out there, put funding to organizations.
Yeah, but they put it in like fried chicken boxes, right? And it wasn't even like crazy. KFC was too upmarket. It was the ghetto chicken shops,
like the Dixies,
Dixie chicken cottage, Morley's in London, and that's what.
Isn't that like discriminative within itself?
I mean, that's it. We only want black people, and they don't even see it's right. They're like, "Oh, it's fine. What are you talking about? It's great. Taxpayers' money." And it's such a racist idea. And again, you can get upset about it, or you can just laugh and say, "Look, this is lunacy." So I just laugh at it rather than get. If you take it to heart, that kind of thing will mad you. Right?
It'll mad you up. I remember I worked for a recruitment agency in Birmingham, and I never forget, I had a Polish manager, and I was off work for like 2 days, and I went to the doctors, and he said to me, did the doctor say it's because you're lacking, you're lazy, and you don't want to work? But I didn't react instantly. I kind of laughed it off as a joke. So I didn't really say anything. And then I mentioned it to my work colleagues, like, this happened. And then they put the complaint forward and was like, nah, that's out of order. And I get what you mean, don't get upset about it or let it mad you. But then doesn't that make us more desensitized to when it does happen?
No, so I'm not even saying don't even challenge it.
You got to challenge it, but you can't take it to heart. Can't take it to heart.
Yeah.
But it hurts, man.
I know it does.
It's like, who the fuck do you think you are?
But we know who they think they are, and also, you don't have to hate them because it's not, I want to say it's not their fault, but it's
not their fault because they've been miseducated as well to a certain extent.
That's just what they do. And even not just white people, black people say
as well.
The difference I say is now at work, I still challenge things, but I ain't taking it personally. Like I challenge the end of the degree, I challenge this, challenge it. But I'm not, when I accept it, expect it. Don't accept it, but expect it. I do not take it, but you cannot take it personally. It's not about you. It's not about you. It's about the system. It's about that. It's about something else. And that has helped me a lot, I would say. Just my own mental health. Because one of the reasons that we do have much more mental health problems is because it's craziness. We have to deal with the craziness. And if you deal with craziness rationally, that's gonna make you go after it.
There's so many different factors that can cause mental health issues, but we just have extra factors. Read all about it.
Think about this work thing. I've got to go to police, right? This is clearly against academic freedom. The university should have contacted me and supported him. Nothing. I haven't heard a word from them. I didn't even expect it, but I was talking to my colleagues, like, uni ain't done nothing? I was like, no, they haven't said nothing. So she was like, you got to email them. So I emailed them. 3 days later, no response. I'm probably not going to get the support I should get. And again, before, this would have made me like, oh, come on, Professor,
Let's push for it.
Now I've got to expect it. I'll push back against it. But in this situation where the university should clearly be supporting me, I cannot expect them to do that. In fact, I should probably expect them to do the other thing and prepare for them to
sack you.
Exactly.
Like, resignation time.
And have a plan in case that goes wrong.
To move out there. Yeah. But in terms of...
That's the reality we face, unfortunately. Should it be like that? No. Is it like that? Yes.
Do you feel like protesting works?
We can do it for specific things. And I think this is probably the problem now that we have is that, protests works to get, you need to have a demand. We want this and we're going to protest until this happens. And I think now we just tend to generally protest. Like we're protesting, like stuff in the Congo, for example. Perfect example. Congo's terrible. Like the way that we're oppressing Congo, but protesting about, what's the demand? Just saying, oh, what's the demand? And also, actually, something like the Congo, and the difference now is, we're now in the house. We're now part of the problem. I have multiple phones in my house, laptop, all the things. So we blame it, like, we're part of it. We're posting on social media, all eyes on Congo. We eyes already on Congo because in your phone.
Yeah. It's deep, but it's just yeah.
So it still has a place, but it has to. You have to have a demand, and you have to want something. It has to make sense.
What does that look like, though? So say if we do wanted to protest on whatever, are you saying when our demands need to be better? Do we need to get more organised? Because the Black Panther movement, they were strong.
Yeah.
And feared.
Mm-hmm.
But they were organised to a certain extent.
Yeah, there was a lot of organising. I mean, so one of the problems with protest is that when you think about what are the demands, it's always going to be slightly reformist. Has to be, right? You're asking the system for something, and that can only get you so far. So protest by itself is not enough because, like I said, you need revolution. Revolution and protest are two different things, but not totally unrelated. But like, let's say police reform, for example. Like the police they're terrible. And we say one of the things that Black Panthers talked about was survival pending revolution. So there are certain changes you can make to police forces, which would at least mean less of us are dead, less of us are in prison. This has to be a good thing. So if you're protesting on that and say, look, these are our demands, and we're not going to, but protest has to say, can't be like we go out one day and then we come inside. Because that's performance, it's not protest.
Right.
It has to be, we're going to shut down the place for several days. Or the rebellions, they were protests. The riots riots in 81, 85, that was protest. We're going to burn stuff, right? And we're not going to stop until you change. And actually, if you look at police reform, it always happens after a rebellion. So there are things you just have to make demands and then protest for those demands. And they have to be very, very clear. And then you don't stop protesting until you get what you want.
Obviously, they said they were going to come to like certain areas and protest regarding the young girls that.
Oh, it was protest. Okay, when you said protest, I thought we meant.
Yeah. Well, technically, they probably would class themselves as protesting.
I guess, yeah.
That's why I used the word, even though we know that probably wasn't the case.
Race riots.
There was such an uproar on social media and a level of disturbance amongst Black people.
Yeah.
And also a reminder of, you're still in the UK.
Yeah.
That, for me, that was a reminder that you're still in the UK, you're still in Britain, you're still a Black person, you're still not going to be equal to that other individual. Yeah,
I mean, those were race riots, and race riots, this is why I don't use the term riot for rebellions that we do, because those are anti-racist expressions, usually against the police. They were expressions of white rage. They don't protest nothing. What they protested? What they protested? They were mad and they were angry and they were ill-informed, and they just wanted to express that we're not welcome, right? And for many parts of the country, we're not welcome. And I think people definitely overestimate how many of us are in the country. 3% of this population is Black. 3%.
That's crazy. What's that in like millions or billions?
It's about 1.8. It's a million. It's less than 2 million. It's not.
Really?
Not that much. It's really
in the UK.
I'm make sure I'm not wrong on this. 10% will be what? 6. Yeah, it's about 2 million. It's about 2 million
That's
people.
crazy.
And half of us live in London. So there's half.
Yeah, half in London.
Then
25% in Birmingham.
Then you got what? Leicester, maybe Manchester.
Leicester, Manchester.
10 places. 10 places. That's it. Right. So most of the country is just white people. 95, 96, 97%. What when they talk about psychosis, talk about segregation, and talk about us? We're not segregated. We live in the most diverse neighborhoods of anybody. It's white people who are segregated. So most of this place don't like us. Don't live nowhere near us. Even in the cities. So Sutton Coldfield is 95% white.
Yeah.
In the cities, 90% Black and brown. So even in the cities, it's not like it's not
the same.
It's very, very, very segregated. So I think we've overestimated how, one, how diverse the country is, two, how far we've come. These riots are just a reminder. And again, they're not new. Go back to 2001, there was riots up in against Asians up in Bradford and Oldham. Go back to 60s, is right. 58, is 1919 is right. These kind of expressions of white rage have been a feature of Britain, and they're not going to go anywhere either, because Britain is a fundamentally racist society, and occasionally white people will go and express that on the street.
I'm really keen to bring Black people together. Mm-hmm. Some say we struggle to work together, collaborate. Where do you think that stems from?
Historically, when we think about, there's actually been very few, it hasn't been as much Black organising as we'd like to think. So if you look historically, it was mostly Caribbean, right? So when we first come over here, it's Caribbean, and the Caribbean community tended to be quite close knit from the same islands, but culturally in the same places. There was a lot of Caribbean organizing. Even when we think about British Black Power, if we're honest, mostly Caribbean people. Certainly there was African elements too as well. And so what's tended to happen is it has actually been more ethnic, if you like. And so the Caribbean African, when I was younger, that was a big split.
A big split. It was a huge split,
It was
right?
a big split.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's like we were almost, as Caribbeans, discriminative towards Africans.
Yeah. And the other way around too. Like.
And the other way around too. Yeah.
So that's changed now, I think, with young people.
100%.
This emergence of like a Black British identity. But I think people misunderstand. That's new. Black British, people call themselves Black British is not old. That's a new thing. When I was younger, this wasn't.
It was Black Caribbean before, wasn't it?
Black Caribbean. You're Black Caribbean, you're Black African.
Yeah.
This Black British thing is a new thing, and it's probably a good thing. No, it is a good thing. No, I'm saying it's a good thing because I don't like British. So, but the idea that we come together and don't have those distinctions in the same way, that's a good thing, right? So we're now in a moment where there is much more cohesion, probably with the whole Black community. And then the other thing, obviously, is if you think about the way that groups typically want to, so people like to compare to Asian community, but it's different. It tends to be religion. It's around religion.
Yeah.
And as you look at Black religious organizations, they are community. There's loads of churches.
Yeah.
Churches are one thing that is their community.
Big community.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
and then you've got Nation of Islam and Islams and
mosque and that. So the idea that there is community, and it is similar in some ways to other communities, but the idea of being Black and coming together and organizing in the UK, to be honest, it hasn't really been. There's been some moments of it, but it hasn't been as extensive as we like to think. Right? I think there is the idea that it was all is great in the past and there isn't now. Not really true. We're trying to do something that really hasn't been done that effectively in the UK in the past. And maybe it can be done. Hopefully it can be done. It should be done.
I need to see it in my lifetime, Kehinde, man. Like, I need to see it in my lifetime. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, certainly if you look at the Black organizations that were in the past, and like, even though I said heavily Caribbean, but they have a model there where, you have Saturday schools, you have bookshops, you have housing associations. We did our own things, right? We did our own stuff. And that's the model we need to get back to more broadly and including everybody in it. There's no reason we can't do it. And I think actually this generation is on this. If you think about, we very much community oriented, then opened up space, tried to get into the institutions. The last 40 years, we've really been trying, can we change? Can we do this? And I think this young people now know that was a dead end, right?
Yeah, man.
Like,
this new gen. I'm this new generation are like, I'm going to set up my own business.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got a lot more Black business owners, definitely, than ever before.
Problem is, though,
Yeah.
it tends to be on that, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to do my business.
Yeah.
I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to do this. One is just embracing capitalism, which is in itself a problem, right? Like these businesses that you want to set up, are they helping the community or are they helping you? These are two different things.
Is it wrong, though? Because you got to start off at home, innit? When you think about it. The business has got to start off.
But what's home?
Home's like the family. So you got to make sure the kids are good. The kids are, you know what I mean? The extended family are good. But yeah, I do agree. There is still an element of how are you helping the next generation?
Yeah, and the thing is, I can look after my kids, but if the community is in a mess, then anything could happen to my kids, right? Even think about schools. Like one of the things you think about schools is safety. Are the schools safe? Well, that's if we're all retrenched in the same. I'm looking after my kid, you look after your kid, and we're not looking community. It's actually not safe for any of us, right? I can't get. And one of the things about being Black, even Black middle class, which I'm now firmly.
Are you middle class now?
I earn too much money not to be middle class.
I think I'm lower middle class.
Okay. I have savings now, so I guess I'm middle class. Like, well, if you don't have savings, you can't be middle class.
Okay, I'm not middle class, guys. I have no savings.
I'm not high
We
middle
forget
class.
to join partners still.
Well, that's the thing with black middle class is all of us are like 1, 2, 3 paychecks away from not being middle class. Not really middle class. Like you ain't got the security.
That's real though. That's real.
Yeah,
a lot of us in this country are 1 or 2, 3 paychecks away from homelessness. Like when you actually check it, I don't get what anyone says.
Yeah, I would say I'm middle class now, but I wasn't for a very long time. I couldn't even afford to pay into a pension. I was like, I don't have any money. I just got debt. It's a debt. But even then, I thought that doesn't necessarily pass on to my kids. That's what being Black is. That's racism. Like if I'm a white professor, I ain't worried about my kids. What are they gonna do? What experience they're gonna have? What school they're gonna go? No, I don't have to have those worries. But even a Black professor, well paid, savings, etc., I still got to worry about that. And so so even in my own interests, I need to say, well, actually, what are we doing for community? Because it's the community that's going to support, nurture, help bring us up, right? And And so it's not enough to look after. It's not. I would say right now, it's not enough. I can see why people.
It's
do
not
it.
enough just to be a black business owner. Like you have to do.
And a lot of these businesses, not all of them. I won't say all of them, but some are just as exploitative. They're just making the model on the same way as a white business. And if it's a white business with a black face,
Yeah. What do you mean by model?
for instance, you got people like I'm not saying everybody. People want to invest in Africa and the continent, and you should.
Right.
But I give a specific example in Gambia. I know a number of people who've gone to Gambia.
Yes.
And they're saying that one of the reasons I come is because the labor is really cheap. What's that? Why is the labor cheap? It's because people are poor, right? So you're going to go to Gambia and exploit black labor to
Rather
make
than
yourself
paying
wealthy. Well, that's just what white people do. I'm confused. How am I supposed to support this? Right? Or if you got, I won't name anybody, but there's business owners in Birmingham who've done well. They got money. You don't see them in the community. You don't see nothing. You don't see nothing. They just got their money and they got nice lives. Okay. Is it not a responsibility to give something back?
100,000%.
Even some of these black businesses, the coconut businesses, black on the outside, white on the inside, they're not doing anything different. They're the same thing. They don't benefit us. And we had this with an organization, Harambe OBU. Early on, we said, well, let's support black business. And we had this directory of black business. It was free. We put it around everywhere. And then we just said to the businesses, you know what, we just need like £10. £10 every 3 months just to keep it going. Couldn't get nobody to pay £10, you know. Nobody could pay £10. £10. It was like nothing. Like, we were making no money out of it.
That's crazy.
And we're like, well, why are we supporting why are we supporting the businesses? They're not supporting us. And it's really changed my opinion on this black business thing. You're never gonna hear me say to support black business generally. If a black business ain't supporting community, you shouldn't support that business. What's it doing? Just getting rich black people doesn't help us. Right? So if the business ain't supporting the community, we're not gonna support that business. I think that has to be a principle. And that's for us as well, because I think that Diddy's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Right? Like Diddy's terrible. He's all come out.
Sorry.
Well, he definitely did.
He did. Like, whoa.
He did that.
I
Whoa.
don't know how this guy caught so many cases. It's like, whoa.
That's a lot of smoke.
Wild,
like,
man. That's wild.
But even take away all the sexual, all the criminal stuff. Why are you supporting this guy anyway? Well, he successfully made money, and we think that's a role model.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, we just
Do you feel like social media and TV is kind of like changed our perspective on how we see people? Because I feel like when that TV, social media came on, those people were highlighted then as, oh, I want to be like Diddy and wear a chain and da.
Yeah.
People forget karma. Karma is real, you know. I think my grandma always told me, careful how you treat people, you know. Because it will come back around. What about 50 Cent then? Because he's doing a lot of work. You know, he's putting people in places. Is he a bit more of a better example in terms of industry? No? Or Kendrick? Kendrick's better. Kendrick's.
I mean, look, Kendrick's a bit better. Like,
I love Kendrick.
I love Kendrick too, but Tupac, man. You ain't got no. Tupac was the one.
Tupac was the one. I used to fancy Tupac. I loved him. He made me fall in love with bald heads. Tupac was more political in his approach, though, wasn't
he? I mean,
he?
it was either be a Black Panther or be a rapper. Like, that would be his choice.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, if you were at least someone like 50 now, at least giving people opportunities and that's good. But there's always more, I think. But there's always a damage you do with some of these. And can you forgive the damage that someone like that gangster image, that money image, that image that's being sold, and that's how you get your money. And then you say, well, I want to use this money to then do positive things. I don't know. The damage is done, right? Yeah. And again, I don't even blame the people that do that.
No,
because if you can do it, do it.
Yeah.
Right. The problem is us. We don't have to support that. We don't have to say this is what success is. Like my son came to me the other day saying, "Oh, I want to be a billionaire." What?
But why?
That's the one slapped him. So you're a billionaire.
Why? Can you even manage $100?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of ambition is that?
Yeah.
Ambition? People do it. Mansa Musa. How much sound? Mansa Musa was the richest man in history. Did it? Mansa Musa had slaves. Mansa Musa was terrible. Mansa Musa accumulated lots of wealth 500 years ago. Maybe the richest person ever to live. That's not an achievement.
It's not. And I feel like as well, like it's interesting because success looks different to different people. I was probably that person that was like, yeah, I'm going to be a billionaire one day. Yeah, I'm going to be No, I want to be wealthy.
Yeah.
There's a difference. Do you get what I'm saying, dear? I want to be able to have wealth, but also be able to support my community.
Yeah.
Do I need £1 billion? Probably not.
I'd say just having $1 billion is anti-black. Like, let's be real. Like, if you have accumulated that much wealth and you've kept it to yourself, that's anti-black. What are you doing?
Really?
I'm not even rich, and I give my money away all the time. But I don't have that much. I barely have. Well, I can't even imagine. I literally can't imagine
Having that amount of money. Yeah, it's true. Like, what are you supposed to? Like, I would have to build a school.
You have to, right?
I'd have to build something.
I don't know. Do you blame people? Can you blame people? Maybe not.
I don't know. I feel like there's a level of like, I'm scared to fully wholeheartedly support my black community because I'm worried that I could be, murdered. I might get locked up. I might have extra complications. I might get stopped. Do you get what I mean? Like, obviously Kanye did say some really stupid stuff, but
Kanye got cancelled himself.
He got cancelled, bro.
He cancelled himself,
in 3.5 seconds. He couldn't access his account. Like, that's nuts to me.
But there's ways to do that. You don't even have to do it publicly. Like,
you can do it low key.
I remember I criticized Beyonce once, and people were like, Beyonce's
whoa, beehives?
I know. Bring it up again. More trouble.
Don't call me beehives.
I'm not gonna do the criticism there, but people said, but look, behind the scenes, you're giving all this money, you're doing that. And at least do that. Like, at the very least, you got all this money support things, right?
Yeah.
Like, in fact, Malcolm X, my favorite again.
Your favorite?
Only twice in like,
you should have had a shot game for every time you get it.
This is low Malcolm X content for me. But he would go to all these rich celebrities who he would cost them. Like, he'd be like, why you got a white wife? Why you got a dead? Cost them in public. But he'd meet them in private and say, look, give us some money. Like he said, look, support the thing. All right, and that's fine. Like, if that's all you do, if you've got this wealth and you support the thing, that's fine. But you have to at least do that. All right, just accumulating it, keeping it. I want to be a billionaire. That's it. I want to be a billionaire is anti-black. It's the anti-black idea in itself.
Yeah, because you don't need that kind of money. You actually,
you don't.
You actually don't
there
need
is
that
no
kind of money.
justification at all.
Maybe milk.
A milk, I guess, but anything over that.
Yeah, man, I could survive on a couple bags of milk, just to be fair. Like, comfortably.
Yeah.
Obviously, going back to Harambee, tell us a little bit about what you're actually building there. How can people get involved? Because I really want the audience, if they are interested, to be able to get involved in the work that you're doing and make positive change. Obviously, we know the negative stuff happens. We know the white psychosis is going to turn us mad if we don't switch off from that. We know we need to stand strong as black individuals and stay connected to our community, whether you're middle class, upper class, top class, billionaire class. So how can the everyday person get involved with your organisation and support? Yeah,
so around BLBU the idea is membership. So you can just join and it's like £5 a month or £4 a month, depending. And if you just want to join, just say, look, I'm black, I want to join the organisation, just give money. That's one level of membership. But we also are looking to organise. So the things we want to do, we've got a Birmingham branch and we want to have branches all around different parts of the world. Start with the UK, branch out. And we are in the process. We have Department of Education, Health, Economics, and Legal. And so those people meet. So if you're in Birmingham, the old Marcus Garvey Nursery, which is Soho Road, just behind Soho Road.
Yeah.
So we have regular meetings in there and just strategizing what we're going to do. Bring together different organizations. We'll have a plan for each department. Say we're going to do this, and this. Probably include a Saturday school, probably include different campaigns, etc. And so we want people to help, come and volunteer, come and be involved in doing that. And we also have Make It Plain. That runs Make It Plain podcast, Make It Plain. It's important to have a space where you can have different ideas. So there's a website as well, which is make-it-plain.org, where you can write ideas, but different stuff goes on there. We got the Nicole Andrews Community Library, my late wife who died of breast cancer a couple of years ago. And we have book club there, so if anybody can come along and do stuff. So we're basically trying to build the organisation with membership. If anybody's not in Birmingham and wants to start a branch in London, different places, we're trying to say, let's just start small and build out. And really it's about strategizing, saying, what are we going to do for education? What are we going to do for health? How are we going to bring organisations together? And we're building up to next year, May the 17th to 19th in Gambia. We're going to have a big event, the Convention for African People. Because Malcolm X is obviously Malcolm.
You and Malcolm, man. you guys are not low-key related. Like.
My son said that to me actually. So what if you're Malcolm's grandson? Okay.
It is. You need to get that family tree sorted out, man. Maybe y'all related or something.
But no, Malcolm's just right. Malcolm's just correct. So
yeah, he's just
we're having it would have been his 100th birthday next May.
Wow.
So we're having
100.
Yeah, he's born 2025. So
that's crazy.
So I've got a book coming out for that, and actually the money, like I said, I give him money away. All the money from the book I got has gone to this Convention for African People.
Amazing.
So we're trying to bring as many people together as possible in Gambia next year, all around the world, and say, well, let's build the organization. We need a global black organization. And what that looks like, it depends on people. It depends who comes on board, as many people as possible. So that's kind of what we're trying to do.
That's amazing. And kind of like, I'm going to give you this one last question, actually. Do you think we will ever have equality, or is it more equity that we actually need?
We need freedom. That's what we need. Like, equality is the complete wrong way to look at it.
Okay.
Equality suggests we need to be equal to somebody we need to be equal to. You have to understand, like, what is that saying? You're saying I want an equal chance to be poor as a white person. That's what you're saying. This system is terrible for not just for us, it's terrible for stuff.
Everybody, yeah.
Right? So we need freedom. We need to understand that we've never been free. We're not free in the system. Right? And this is why we're having a convention in Gambia. We really want to reach out to the continent. I'm not saying have some field, Negro. We are, well, the poorest of us here is still in the house. Like, you get a house, you get NHS, you get, it's not great and we are discriminated against, but go to Nigeria, honestly, go look at it, like, you'll be like, wow, this is different, next level of poverty, and we have to understand that global system and say, actually, no, we need, and maybe you could make the case that in Britain we could potentially, if we do the right things, work together, get so-called equality. But when you start looking at Jamaica, Nigeria, other parts of the world, it's very clear that there's something that radically needs to change.
Yeah.
Congo, we need radical change. So it can't be about posting, oh, Nigeria's bad, oh, Congo. It has to be, how do we actually build something that can actually...
And connect us from the UK to...
Until we actually make a different system. So yeah, we can have freedom, we do. Like, I think the biggest lie we've been told to is that we don't have power. As Black people, we have power. It was Black people who built the West, right? That's why they took us in chains. We actually built the whole thing. Had we been unified as Black people at that point, slavery actually doesn't happen, right? Because Europe was behind. Like, way behind. Europe couldn't take Africa, They wanted to have slavery and couldn't do it. Got run out of the continent. That's because we didn't work together. They were able to pick us off, this tribe, that tribe, etc., etc. And then we end up in the Caribbean. We produce, even now with Scramble for Africa, all the resources they take from Africa. Had Africa again been unified, guess what? Colonialism can't happen. But it's not wasn't unified then, still not unified now. All right, so the moment that we decide that we can unify, collectively organize, use that power that we have, that's when we get free. But that's the only way that we get free.
Wow. I mean, I could speak to you for hours, Kehinde. You're gonna have to come back for a part 2 at some point.
Definitely.
You really are. Thank you so much for joining us today. I will definitely be coming in to join the Harambe at some point, offer my services. Can you let everybody know where they can find you? Some of your social media. Make It Plain podcast. I've actually been listening to that all week. I love your little rant.
Okay.
I'm just going to rant first, guys.
Yeah, I need to get off my chest. Come on.
So I love your little rant. So make sure you go check out the Make It Plain podcast. That's available on Spotify and all of your socials. Where else can people find you?
So if you're interested in the organisation, it's blackunity.org.uk. I'm on Twitter at Kehinde _ Andrews. Insta, all the places. But yeah, blackunity.org.uk, make-it-plain.org. All right. Yeah, and do come down to 97 to 99 Linwood Road is the Marcus Garvey Centre that has a Nicole Andrews library. And we have book club every last Friday of every month.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Mek Sense with Melzy. That's it from me. See you soon. Bye.